Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dayem. Here I would like to tell you about language maintenance. What is language maintenance? Language maintenance is a degree to which an individual or group continues to use their language, particularly in bilingual or multilingual area or among immigrant group, whereas language shift is the process by which a new language is acquired by a new community, usually resulting with the loss of community first language. Language maintenance refers to the situation where speech community continues to use its traditional language in the face of a host of a condition that might foster a shift to another language. If language maintenance doesn't occur, there can be several results. One is language death. Speakers become bilingual. Youngers become dominant in another language, and the language is said to die. The speaker's other community doesn't die. Of course, they just become a subset of speaker of another language. The end result is language shift for the populations, and if the language isn't spoken elsewhere, it dies. Language maintenance refers to the situation where speakers, a group or speaker or a speech community continues to use their language in some or all spheres of life, despite competition with the dominant or majority language to become the main language is these spheres. According to Van Herk 2012, the study of how language survive or the continuing or use of minority language in the face of a more regionally, socially, or politically dominant language. That's all for me. Next will be explained by my friends. Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Feli Aulia Almadani, and I will continue the explanation about language maintenance and shift. About language maintenance factors. So we already know that language maintenance means it's a phenomenon where people or where a group or community decide to continue to use its language. And there are several factors, but I will only give three main factors, and it is according to Giles, Borges, and Taylor, their theory in 1977. Okay, the first one is the first main factor is status. So we can divide status into three branches. The first one is economic status, and then social status, and then language status. The first one, economic status. Economic status means when a majority of the member of speaker have low economic status, it will make the language hard to maintain. And then vice versa, when the majority of speaker have high economic status, it will make the language easier to be maintained. And then social status. Basically, social status same like economic status because it is related to each other. Let's say when you have low economic status, it will make your social status low as well. Vice versa, if you have high economic status, it will make your social status high as well. And then yeah, this economic and social status effects have significant effect on maintaining the language. And then the third one is language status. So language status related to the sense of the later influences or the former that influence the language. Language status will be low, especially when the minority speaker of the minority speak the dialect of the language in question. So language maintenance will be hard to keep when the speaker of the member start to questioning the language. And then the second factor is demography. Demography concerning about the number of member of speaker and their social distribution, and then the number of speakers of a certain language that it will become important when it decreases. So demographic means the more people that use its language, it will make the language easier to maintain. And then the last one is institutional report. Institutional report refers to the extent of the language that's currently used. So let's say that Bahasa Indonesia. When we don't use Bahasa Indonesia as our daily language, it will make Bahasa Indonesia become more easier to be shifted or to be loosened, or we can lose our Bahasa Indonesia. Vice versa. And the opposite, when we use Bahasa Indonesia as we speak or in written or in printing, it will make Bahasa Indonesia maintain its existence. And then language maintenance supported when the minority language or when the member of when the member of language use the language in various institutions. So that is why we call it institutional report. Institution can be either in nation or in community like church or cultural organization and many more. For the nation, it can be like the government. Okay, the next one will be linguistic factors. Actually, there are so many factors that can maintain language from linguistic perspective, but I will only explain three factors. The first one, mother tongue is standardized and exists in written form. Yes, of course, it obviously uh, factors of the language maintenance. Let's just say when we don't use our language as a national language, or we don't legal it, or we don't standardize it, or we don't use it in our curriculum in schools, it will make the language slowly loses its means, or we can finally lose our original language. Let's just say, for the example, when you originally are from Betawi, and then no, when you originally from Java or Jawa, and then you move out from Jawa to Jakarta, which in Jakarta you will not get uh, Java language lesson, so it will make your Java language will slowly loses if you don't practice it or you don't learn it in school, and uh, it will make you hard to maintain the language. And then the second one is the language uses an alphabet which makes printing and literacy relatively easy. The last is home language has international status, just like English language. So I think that is all from me. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sophie Kristinanda. In here, I will explain about language shift. Language shift is a social phenomenon whereby one language replaces another in given society. Language shift, sometimes referred to as language transfer or language replacement or assimilation, is the progressive process whereby a speech community of a language shift to speaking another language. Example, the most recent language shift in China is the disappearance of the Manchu language. When China was under Manchurian rule Qing dynasty, Manchu and Chinese had co-official status. However, the Chinese language was culturally so strong that Manchurian rules began to prefer Chinese to Manchu. Linguistic factors. There are 5 factors that support the linguistic, according to Janet Holmes, 2001, are demographic factors, economic factors, political factors, social factors, and attitude and value. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Wida and I would like to explain about language shape factors. According to Janet Holmes, there are 5 factors contributing in the language shapes. The first is demographic factors. One of the demographic factors is that resistance to language shapes tends to last longer in rural areas and urban areas because rural areas tend to be isolated from the centers of political power for longer. For example, people whose mother tongue is Japanese move to Karawang to work. Then the majority of Karawang people is Sundanese because they live for a long time in their old neighborhood. It is difficult for them to speak Sundanese in their daily life. The second is economic factors. Language shift is caused by economic reasons. Holmes says that job seekers see the importance of learning a new language which is widely used in business. The high demand from industries for employees with fluent English has successfully encouraged job seekers to equip themselves with English. In fact, being competent in English leads to well-paid jobs. And the third is political factors. According to Romain, there are many factors responsible for the language shift, for example, government policy and language and education. In multilingual countries, government usually choose one language as the lingua franca to unite the ethnicities. For example, an average is in state school, the language that used as substitute is Indonesian. Even though students are various ethnicities, but because the government determines that the lingua franca in Indonesia is Indonesian, so students and teachers will communicate using Indonesian. The fourth is social factors. When there is a community of speakers moving to a region or country whose language is different from theirs, there is a tendency to shift to the new language. Every time an immigrant learns the native language of the new country and passes it down to their children in place of the old country language. For example, Adin was born in Jakarta, so his mother tongue is Indonesian, which is used as the language of his neighborhood. Then he moved to USA or America or Washington, which mostly speak English. Since then, he has only spoken Indonesian at home. But due to the demands of his new neighborhood that use English, so Adin gradually switched from Indonesian to English. And the last is attitude and value. Negative attitude towards language can also accelerate language shift. It occurs when tribal language is not highly valued and is not seen as a symbol of identity. As noted by Holmes, young people are the fastest at changing language. Youth in several big cities in West Java are gradually leaving Sundanese in their daily communication because in Sundanese there are various levels of formality, and Sundanese is seen as a difficult language structure. The structure in Indonesia, Sundanese language is difficult, so they feel more comfortable using Indonesia with their peers. If this continue, they will eventually lose their ability to speak Sundanese. And okay, that's all from me. The next will be presented by Ary.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ary Ganteng. Today I would like to try to answer why is language important. First of all, we all know that language is a vital part of human connection. Although all species have their ways of communicating, humans are the only ones that have mastered cognitive language communication. Language allows us to share our ideas, talk, and feeling with others. And also, there are 2 points more why language is important. First, language matters. Language is what makes us human. It is how people communicate. By learning a language, it means you have mastered a complex system of words, structure, and grammar to effectively communicate with others. To most people, language comes naturally. We learn how to communicate even before we can talk, and as we grow older, we find ways to manipulate language to truly convey what we want to say with word and complex sentence. Of course, not all communications is through language, but mastering language certainly helps speed up the process. This is one of the many reasons why language is important. And the second point is language is important to culture and society. Language helps us express our feeling and thought. This is unique to our species because it is a way to express unique ideas and customs within different culture and society. By learning a foreign language, you can understand ideas and thoughts that may be different with your own country. You can learn customs and how people interact in a given society. Language helps preserve culture, but it also allows us to learn about others and spread ideas quickly. That's all the point why language is important for us. I think enough. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.